I have friends, and if they're listening, like I try not to hang out with them as much because secretly, like they bring me down. They don't even understand what I'm doing and the vision I'm going for. I wanted to be a pilot and I wanted to fly commercially, and I fell in love with business because of the agency, because of learning how business is run. You're not going to regret the vacation. You're not going to regret. I ended up buying the plane, turned around a year later, sold it, made double the money, and bought my own plane on my own. And I had my president sit down with me. He's like, Travis, if you were to grow this business faster, no strings attached, just dream, what would it be? And it was like, I'd buy another agency because I could acquire that. I know our playbook and we could grow faster. And he's like, then why don't we do it? Basically, the third principle here is get a tool to help you keep track of expenses and keep people accountable. I'm more than mediocre, but I'm not the greatest salesperson. And I was able to build a multi-million-dollar business off of my sales alone. My philosophy is,
beyond your paycheck, it's surges of cash that you can use to grow your net worth and feed your investments. Welcome back to the Surges of Income podcast. I'm your host, Chris Moore. Today, I have a very special guest with me. His name's Travis Weathers. He owns a company called Rotate Digital Marketing Agency, and we were hanging out together. I actually wore this special Hawaiian shirt for you. You didn't show up prepared like you were before, but we spoke together in Gatlinburg at the Rank Masters Lead Snap Mastermind that happened back in July. And I just was really impressed with you. I loved how your heart was on your sleeve and in the tip of your tongue as you were speaking into these people. You were truly helping them with no strings attached. And you've made quite an impression in the marketing world. Your agency is so niche down, so specific. I just wanted to share your story with everybody. I'm sure there's a lot of really golden nuggets and things that have made you who you are and gotten you where you are today. And any knowledge and wisdom we can give to my audience, I'd love to be able to do that. So thanks for being here with us today. And Travis, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much for having me, man. You said I'm special, and my mom used to tell me I'm special, and I thought I was special. But then the more I learned, I'm like, I may not be that special. I may just be able to execute and just hope for the best and be blinded. So we'll talk a little bit more.
What makes you special is the fact that you don't overthink things. Yeah,
exactly. So my name's Travis Weathers. I own RotateDigital.com. I'm married, been married for 12 years. I got 3 kids. I own a digital marketing agency that specializes in SEO and now PPC for moving companies. And honestly, I'm really excited. My goal is to share as much value as possible, and I'm an open book. So no question will offend me.
Awesome. Well, I don't have any crazy questions that are going to give away your life story, but I think let's start with surges of income to begin with. I mean, what I teach specifically is how to make money in large surges all at one time, where you can use that to really feed your net worth, your investments, rather than spending it. Money where, I mean, if you just go work for somebody, as you know, you're never going to earn your way to really being wealthy, because cost of living, inflation, scope creep, and lifestyle creep constantly will come up, and it's going to be hard to save your way to wealth. So with what you do, I know, being a digital marketing agency owner, being a business owner, and having the ability to make large amounts of profit, one of the things that you presented while you were in Gatlinburg with us is all about profitability. You really focus hard on margins, some from some tough life lessons and things you've learned along the way. But I think that's something that everyone needs to hear. So just to hear a little bit about my audience here, a lot of people in the business acquisitions, real estate, people who are seeking success, people who are younger and older alike, who are looking to really grow their net worth. So let's talk about your story. Let's channel it in a way where we can give some really good value to my listeners. So how'd you get into moving company, SEO, and PPC marketing agency? Like, that's an interesting niche. How did that come about?
Yeah. So the long story short is I wanted to become a pilot, and being a pilot costed some money, and we did not have a lot of money. And I wanted to pursue that as like a career. And again, that is just more and more money. And so I had dabbled, like I had built a website one time and dabbled in website stuff. And I was working for a marketing company doing marketing stuff. And I was like, I can leave, start my own business, and make way more money. So I put in my 2 weeks, I quit. And then the first thing that happened is I fell flat on my face. I sold maybe 3 clients, making, $500 a month, which now is like $500 a month. But at the time, I talk down on it now, $500 a month of new revenue was amazing for me. And my wife was thrilled. I was thrilled. I wish it came when I had my consistent job income. But anyway, I ended up getting a job learning how to sell, and I was selling Bible software. And what that did for me is it allowed me to understand that when you sell, you don't need to be sleazy. And when you can sell right and sell well, you're actually providing tremendous value to people. So I combined that with a course I bought. And that's why I love when hearing that people invest in courses, invest in their education, investing in themselves, because I did that. In between learning how to sell and then buying this course, I started my digital agency. And what happened is they basically said, you got to choose a niche. And I did not want to do it, but I decided. I had one guy who was a moving owner who's like, you did really well. And we had restaurants and insurance companies, and we were making, $6,000 with 12 companies. And he's like, you did really well for me. And so I knew with a testimonial and him in the moving industry, I could at least sell one more person. And so I decided to choose the moving company niche. And I sold my first moving company client in December of 2018.
So fast forward to today, how many clients do you have in the moving agent industry now?
Yeah, so we have got currently about 150 clients. We've served over like 270 clients in the moving industry, but currently have about 150 clients all over Canada, Australia, and the US, which is really cool.
That's a lot. And somebody who doesn't,
I didn't even know you had that many moving companies in America, by the way, when I started this. So people,
there's probably 10,000 plus, right?
There's 10,000, but like 7,000 like good ones. I had no idea though. I thought there was 50, but I still did it.
Well, niches make riches. You go and follow Alex Hermosi. He calls it niche slapping when he sees somebody get too broad, too general. A couple of my buddies always talk about this. I think Patrick, our friend, Patrick Shannon, and my other business partner, Carl, say, like, if you're going to go to a surgeon and you're having open heart surgery, do you want to go to a general surgeon? Or do you want to go to a heart surgeon? And it's also interesting, if you follow the money, a heart surgeon makes 10 times more per year on average than a general surgeon. I think niches make riches bitches is what they say. And excuse my language, but it's so real. I mean, you got to niche down, you got to specialize. Everyone works with the best, and you can't be the best at everything. So I think that's smart. Fast forward to today. I mean, not everyone's going to understand how big 150 clients is. I did own an agency, a pretty good size agency, and that's a lot of clients. People paying you on monthly retainer. You probably have at least a 90% retention rate over a 3 to 6 month period. There is somewhat of a revolving door in general, but that's a pretty sizable agency. But let's jump over to some money stuff. Like, you talked about two things in general in Gatlinburg. You talked about sales, and you taught a prospecting system, and you literally opened up the kimono and gave them your sales script, which was phenomenal. I teach sales. I have a sales mastermind I lead every Friday. I'd love to have you on there one day if you're willing.
I'd love it.
But I mean, that was very impressive. And then the other part is margins. You talked about not only how to make money, but you made money and then you spent it. And then one day you sat down and say, how do I keep it? Like, so let's talk about those two things in general. One, let's talk about sales, because I think sales truly is one of the biggest things that you could ever learn how to do. I think it pays some of the highest ROI of anything you can invest in is yourself, and learning how to sell is massive. There's so many opportunities for people out there. I have people come to me every day, Travis, like, how can I work with you? How can I be in your world? I said, listen, if you're damn good at sales, I've always got a place for you.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not taking any risk. It's all performance. Like, selling is everything. So we'll talk about sales, your journey there, how you came up with that great framework that you shared. And then let's talk about profit margins, your view on that, and the things that you've done in your business that we maybe can pass on as some wisdom to our listeners.
Yeah. So I'd say if we're going to start with sales, there's some philosophies I live by. Number one, it's still human to human contact and human to human conversation. And I think a lot of people sometimes can get caught up, and you can slap me if I'm saying things against what you say, but I doubt it will be against it. They'll get caught up in the sales tactic, the do this and say this. And at the end of the day, if you can step back and go, my goal is to provide value to the person that's on the phone call with me or on the Zoom call with me, that will level the playing field of how you interact. And you can be a mediocre salesperson. And I would say I'm more than mediocre, but I'm not the greatest salesperson. And I was able to build a multi-million-dollar business off of my sales alone. And so when you step back, my philosophy is, how do I provide as much value as possible to this person in a systematic way, in a framework where we don't waste their time? And I think that framework was helpful. And so the framework I talked about, where it was like, hey, you direct message them, you go to them on Facebook, you reach out to them, that whole process, again, you'll talk to people who will poo-poo that process. They'll be like, that is old school. That's not cool. And you can take your opinions, but at the end of the day, a lot of the times people just don't do it right. They'll do it and they'll be like, hi, how are you? Like, I don't know you. You wouldn't do that to a random person on the street. But if a random person on the street came up and said, hey, I see your car. Do you need it washed? It's like, yes or no. And that's what I did with the Facebook outreach. It was like, this is what I do. This is who I am. I didn't even say hi. It was like, this is what I do. This is who I am. Do you need help? And people would say no. And a lot of people would say yes. And we talked about these conversations, these outreaches would lead to $100,000, $200,000 lifetime value clients. Like, that's massive leverage. So that was kind of the process to get them on the sales call. And then the sales script that I went through was not anything unique. I was presented a version of it, but that sales script that I went through was really just systematically figuring out what is the best way to deliver this value through the sales call and get them to understand their pain points. I think a lot of the times, if you're like me, you almost get a little timid on a sales call. You're like, I don't want to be pushy. And I would almost argue, if you're concerned about being pushy and too sales sleazy, you're probably missing some of the conviction on why you're on that call right now. So those are some of the philosophies.
Yeah, I love the human to human thing. I think a lot of stuff that I teach outside of just sales, I work a lot in the business acquisition space, as you know, a Dealmaker Wealth Society. We talk about seller conversation frameworks, negotiation frameworks, which everything is sales. And one of the things when you're talking with someone is learning how to create rapport. It's also helping them understand that they're in a safe pair of hands, just having this conversation, positioning yourself as an expert, leading with value. And we talk about, when we're talking to sellers, a lot of times you have all these walls up. When you're talking to a prospect, a lot of times they have these walls up, right? They have their own confirmation or biases or things that they came into the call already believing or just looking for someone to take advantage of them. And I think when you start as a consultant and an advocate, rather than someone looking to sell them something, people can feel that. And then they open up like a clam. Like, so I love the human to human. I love building relationships. I love using empathy. I love validating their thinking. I teach something called leading to negative. Probably never heard of it because I'm the one who created it, but it's the idea of, how do I get someone on a sales call to bitch and complain to me within the first 3 minutes? That's my superpower, right? Because I know if I can get them to complain and open up and talk about what's not working, I can find the pain. We also know no pain, no sale. The entire dynamic of the call is shifted to where now I'm listening to them. I'm their psychologist. I'm their solutions provider. I'm the consultant trying to find a solution for them. And now I don't have to worry about getting that thing at the end of the call where they're just like, okay, well, I'll think about it, or one of these smoke screens, because I've already identified exactly what's going on. And when I was listening to your framework and you explain it to all the students in the room, it was really kind of like cut through the BS, build a relationship, add tons of value, and then just leaving it up to them for the next steps. And I thought it was powerful. So I think we have very different styles, yet I love sales because there's so many different ways to make it work.
Yeah, and yet both ways are creating value and opening up the pain and giving them the option to make a decision. And again, we talked about it on the meeting. One of the things you talk about, like, how do I add value? Sometimes adding value is telling them no. I know two people I sold, and these are, $60,000, $70,000 lifetime value clients that I sold, not because I did such a great job on the sales call, but because they were referred by somebody who I said no to, because I said, I don't believe you're ready for this. I think you need to do X, Y, and Z first, then come to us. And that's going to get the most leverage out of you working with us. Come to us in 2 months. But I think it's actually best that you don't move forward with us. And I didn't do that as like a sales tactic. I just genuinely was looking at the situation going, I think that's what's best. And he was like, no one's ever done that with me. Posted online, left me a review, put it online of like, this guy's not a sales sleazy guy. Like, he will really help you. And I got 2 calls from that I closed because they're like, yeah, we want to hear your honest feedback. So again, value.
It's huge. And I think you have to have a paradigm shift when you have an agency, right? You have to understand that your goal is to say no. Your goal is to, what I call, painting the ideal win scenario. Like, what would have to be true? What parameters would have to be in place? What size of business? What problems have they already solved? What perspective have they already gained? What have they tried that hasn't worked? Like, somebody who fits in this box is who I'm going to accept as a client. Everyone else I'm going to say no and not waste too much time, because I only have so much time. I'm only looking for certain clients who are going to have the longer lifetime customer value and the longer relationship. They're going to appreciate what I bring to the table. They're not going to be on a timeline where they have 3 months to make it work, or they're going to have to throw me away and they didn't even tell me. Like, they have the right expectations. And what you're saying is, you said, hey, I like your business. I wish I could help you. We only work with people who fit in this box. You're not quite ready for us yet.
Mhm.
I'd love to work with you in 2 years. Maybe I can refer you to somebody else who specializes in working with businesses that are your size. And he thought that was so authentic rather than you just taking his money. And he was able to give you a positive review that came back to you, and that karma, the universe, God, whatever you believe, came back to you and brought you stuff back. So I think
Yeah.
it's huge. And that comes back to also just being having integrity. Like Carl, one of
Mhm.
my business partners, one of my main business partners, he talks about being a noble capitalist. He
Mhm.
said, we're in business. It's our job to take care of people. And that's exactly what you're doing in your industry. And I love that. So
Yeah.
let's pivot from sales, because we're doing a quick one today, right? Let's pivot from sales. Let's talk about money. You told a story about
Mhm.
how you guys were making lots of money in revenue and how almost it was a vanity metric, right? And you were measuring your success based off how much revenue you're bringing to the door. And so you had this moment, and then you realize that you need to measure something else. So can
Mhm.
you just go through that story and kind of share with everyone?
Yeah, so the story goes, I'm starting to make some money, and when you're smaller, you can get away with being like, all right, we'll see what happens next month, because you're lean, you're growing, like there's a lot of good stuff going on, and so what basically happened is I kind of lived that all the way into as we got bigger, and the key philosophy here is I'll share in a second, but what ended up happening is we had our best month of sales and profit that we've ever had in 4 years at the company or 3 years at the company, whatever it was. And I was on cloud nine. I was buying Christmas gifts. Like it was the whole gambit. I was excited. And then, no joke, followed up by the next month, not next year. Well, it's the next year, but the next month, we had the worst profit. We were negative profit and we lost money. And
Mm,
that was the eye-opening event that was like, holy crap, I can't be passive on this. I can't be complacent. I can't be reactive. I've got to I've got to plan for the profit. And so the what changed that time is I then told our team, we're going to specifically make profit like a forefront thing that we're focusing on and tracking. So we created this whole expense tracking this because we wanted profit to be intentional and not profit to be this like byproduct of like, let's see how the month comes and plays out. We wanted it to be so intentional that we could calculate 30 days before what we would get and come close to. And then if we were off, we would be able to figure out why we were off. And so that was kind of what had happened. And then what that did is it sparked a ton of follow up of like how we're tracking profit, how we're tracking expenses, how we're keeping people accountable, we're using virtual cards, and how we're making sure that we're tracking expenses and every end of the month making sure that it's plus or minus 10%. And so that was like the high level story of what was happening, because again, you get the people, and no, there's no harm, no foul, but you get the people who like to talk about their $2 million digital marketing agency. I know these people, by the way. And then when push comes to shove, you find out they're paying themselves $100,000 a year and they're making $50,000 in net profit that year in their business. Like $150,000 a year, I can go work for Chris Moore and make that doing sales calls,
let's
and my
go.
life would be way less stressful, right?
Profitability.
So, like people like to play the game of revenue, and in that year, I switched to go, yeah, there's a revenue aspect when you come to selling and valuations, but it's always at the crux and at the core, it's profit. So that was the story.
So let's give some advice to anybody watching or listening on whatever platform you're on. Travis, if you had 3 books, 3 pieces of advice, or 3 things that you studied when you got profit focused, what did you go and learn? Did you read Profit First? Did you go study EOS? Like, what did you do to kind of help you through that process?
Yeah, I would say the main things is the first thing is I got control of my expenses. And maybe I read Profit First during that time, call it first or second, whatever it is. But I got control and understanding of my expenses. Even if it wasn't in control, I knew where it was going. And when I talk about this, we're talking about line item by line item. I knew every single transaction. I had it on an Excel spreadsheet, and then I would have a reconciliation. And I know that sounds like a fancy word. It literally just means me going to QuickBooks, clicking this open and going transaction by transaction. What's going on? Where's this going? And why did we spend this? And who's accountable for this spending? And that took time. It wasn't like I created this and then suddenly it was done. It was like I created this, and then for the next 7 months, I tweaked it. I redid it. I've added more accountability to different people. So that was the first one, because you can't talk about profit. You can't talk about expenses if you don't even know where it's going. You don't have control of it. So you've got to have control of it. My whole saying with this, like I said at the mastermind, QuickBooks will not save your profit. It does not tell you profit. It will tell you profit, but as a after fact. QuickBooks won't save your profit. You've got to protect your profit. And I did that with the expense sheet, and that was the first starting point. I did read profit first. That's hard. It's hard to just be like, oh yeah, well, this is what we're going to do. But I did take that in consideration of like, well, if we're going to make 18% profit this year, what needs to change? And there is a reality that when we had a downturn of the industry, and it was my fault, but when we had a downturn, we were very specific and strategic around what expenses and what type of people we got rid of to help with that and making that profit first. So keep track of expenses, the profit first. And then for anybody here that has a team, I use something called Pay with Extend, but it's just the idea that people have accountability on their cards. The cards are virtual. Everyone's got their own card, and there's accountability of submissions of what is spent. And beforehand, people could just spend willy-nilly. And again, I didn't have a finance person. I couldn't afford it. So this platform, so there was basically the third principle here is get a tool to help you keep track of expenses and keep people accountable. And again, it is hard work. It took me time. It takes me time to still focus on that. The money is probably the closest thing I keep to my chest of everything else because it goes by very quickly.
I think it's huge. Just having financial visibility is massive as well. Like sometimes we don't look at it because we say a lot is what you water grows, or whatever you can measure, you can manage. And sometimes as much as we think we're doing good work, we're not measuring everything that matters. Yeah. And getting surprises at the end of the year and finding out that you didn't make as much money, but your bank account still has money in it. It's like a vanity metric, like a security blanket that's not really real. So
yeah. And for those of you guys who are sitting here going, okay, I feel like I know what's right. I feel like I know what should be done. And then you go to your, let's say your bookkeeper or your accountant, and they tell you why it shouldn't be or whatever it is. I just want to encourage you, listen to your gut feelings and just take control of your finances the way you need it to be done. Now, the person at the end of the year can do all the changes they need to submit the taxes, but my financial guy would tell me why X, Y, like this shouldn't be, this is travel, so it needs to be in the business expense. I was like, no, this is travel for marketing reasons, and I want to track my marketing ROI. So I need you to put this in marketing. And out of the gate, your out of the box accountant or bookkeeper will not do that naturally because guess what? It's not their business. They're not running the business. You got to create the P&L for you to make business decisions as the owner of the business. And that is really important to know is like, just because your accountant says it should go over here doesn't mean you have to do it. You have to do what you need to do to make good decisions in your business.
I'll take you back to a saying my stepdad told me when I was a younger dad. I was probably like 23, 24, just had 2 kids, and I was running out of money constantly. I was working at a restaurant as a manager at Ruby Tuesday, probably making 36 grand, 38 grand a year. And I said, man, I don't know what's happening, but I don't have any money left over. He said, well, Chris, let me tell you, you can't always control how much money is coming in the door. There's so many things that could happen. You can lose your job, you can lose a client. He said, but what you do have control over is where you swipe your credit card. And I heard you say that a minute ago, like the idea of controlling the expenses and being more intentional about not only controlling it, but tracking it and holding people accountable. And I think that's a huge lesson to be learned for anybody who's in business, owns a business. At the end of the day, that's really what matters is how much you take home. And I think the systems that you put around it, the way that you measure it, what you water grows, like focus on that. You grow your profit, you can make more profit. But if you ignore it, it's gonna go out of control. So Travis, I want to go in a different direction. I want you to say, okay, where you are in your journey today, you have all the knowledge you have, which comes from failures, successes, challenges, breakthroughs, and really your like imperfect experiences all added together. You've got everything you've got, right? I want to go to a time machine. I'm going to throw you back in time 10 years. And if you had all the knowledge, all the experience, all the lessons, everything, but you were able to go back 10 years and you're able to do things differently, what would you potentially do differently? What would you do faster? Or would you even be doing the same thing you're doing today?
That is a deep question there.
It is.
So I'll caveat the answer to, there's a lot of things that have made me who I am today. And I am very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for the deep hard work, the pain points. I've lost friends over this business. You think it's not going to happen and then it happens. And then you find out they're stealing from you and you're like it's really hard. So I say all this to go, I'm grateful for who I am today and the experiences that have created me today. If I were to go back and take the wisdom or the things that are on my heart right now, and I would go back 10 years, probably one of the first things is regret sucks for me. Specifically, like I should have bought that house. Remember that the idea we were going to buy 3 houses and we never executed on it. Oh, remember this? And then every time I've like, should we really go on vacation? You know what? Let's just go do the vacation, right? The kids are going to love it. I never regretted doing these things. And so I might have got lucky that a lot of the things I've done have ended up going well. I bought a plane and I was like, oh, should we even buy a plane? So one of the first things I would do is I would tell myself all those things that um, all those things that I was scared to take action on, that I was like, well, maybe here's why I shouldn't, and the excuses. I would tell myself, take action, do it now. Because it's really harder to shift and pivot and take riskier decisions as you get older, as my kids get older, and I still push the limits, but it would have been a little easier when I'm by myself with my wife and we had nothing. And it was like, yeah, I should have just taken that risk. So I would have said, execute. I tell my leadership team, you get done with a day's worth of planning and it's like, great, 3% of the work is done, strategy. The rest is execution. So I tell myself, execute. I regret my time in high school. I think I wasted my time. So execute. Your time is so valuable and it's so easy to just let it flee. Next thing you know, 10 years later, and it's like, I could have taken action. So take action, execute. Then secondly, I don't think I would have done things differently. I think that this agency has been a great time for me. I wanted to be a pilot and I wanted to fly commercially. And I fell in love with business because of the agency, because of learning how business is run. And so I have done that and I like that. And I want to acquire businesses. I want to do more than that. I have those big dreams. But I think I needed this foundational level to go, here's how to run a business. Here's how to grow a business. Here's the hard times in a business. So I say the biggest thing would be execute, Travis. Don't wait. And if you can handle a little bit more of risk, like push that limit a little bit, because you're not going to regret the vacation. You're not going to regret. I ended up buying the plane, turned around a year later, sold it, made double the money and bought my own plane on my own. Like I bought a house. I was so scared to buy a house. I was like 4.5% interest rate. This is going to be so expensive. This house costs us $700 a month. I don't even know if we'll ever be able to pay that bill. Exactly. And then again, sold it a year and a half later, made 30 grand, gave us the opportunity to go to a new place. Like I believe in the execution. I believe in the opportunities. And most of the people who are going to be listening to this podcast, they're the type of people who will succeed in that experience. And so therefore go and take it.
I think it's a lot of good advice there. I think one of the biggest things you said that resonates with me is, if I could go back, I wouldn't necessarily change something. And I think about the 2 most powerful emotions in the human existence. Are you familiar with those? There's one positive, one negative. The positive emotion with the most power is gratitude. That's why you see a lot of people who do mindfulness and breathing and yoga. They start with gratitude because it puts the body and the mind in the right frame of mind, like to be able to receive. And then I think the most negative one is actually regret. So it's interesting you went to those 2 things, gratitude and regret. And it's almost like you're saying, I don't really regret my journey, but if I could do things differently, I would have executed more. I would have spent less time and invested more time. I feel like I could be so much further than I am today if I would have taken a few of those chances that really were pretty calculated risks, but they felt like a burden back then. So is your big advice, if I can paraphrase for you a little bit, is it moving forward from today, don't let yourself be set up to regret the next 10 years. Like if you're looking back from 10 years from now, take a little bit of risk, take a calculated risk, like be able to predict success, but do the things that are going to get you to the next level. Don't second guess yourself, but also appreciate the journey. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I think I would sum it up with learn to be content where you're at and then never stop pushing the bar of like excellence, execution, and taking those risks that you believe needs to happen. I think those 2 things, I think if you can be content in life and content with where you're at, whether you have no money or a lot of money, you're going to be in a really good spot. And then you continue to go dream bigger, execute, take the risk while you can. And I'm starting to push myself and live out the framework. We want to buy an agency. And I had my president sit down with me. He's like, Travis, if you were to grow this business faster, no strings attached, just dream, what would it be? And it was like, I'd buy another agency because I could acquire that. I know our playbook and we could grow faster. And he's like, then why don't we do it? And my knee-jerk reaction is, well, it's risky. Well, I'm scared. Well, this, and it's like, why not do it? Yeah. Like, let's go for it. Like, it's not going to kill us. So
let's talk about risk for a second. There's really actual risk and perceived risk. Actual
Mhm.
risk is when you're standing in front of a giant cave and you see a lion, and that's real risk. We have
Happens
all
to
these
me all the time.
butterflies. That's real. That's real risk. But what you just said a second ago is not risk, believe it or not. And no, it's
Mhm.
not risky. It's perceived risk, right?
It's
Perceived
perceived.
risk is a reaction you have to the fact that you're not feeling like you're prepared to take advantage of the opportunity correctly. You don't know everything you should know. You have reluctance because of those things. You don't want to fail. You don't want to look like an idiot. You don't want to make it and proclaim to the world that you have this mission, that you're going to buy another business. Yet what happens if I don't? I'll look like an idiot. Like there's all these things that create risk, but it all comes back to the one concept of if you were able to say, yes, I can do it. Yes, I'm going to be successful. Yes, I have the tools, the guide, the map, the shovel, everything I need to find the gold. Is it risk at all?
Yeah, and it
It's
will help you go faster and save money. Cue the promotional for your course.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to learn how to buy businesses, Carl, my business partner, is the best in the world. We have the biggest coaching company in the world for this exact thing. And I work with marketing agency owners all the time who are trying to buy other agencies. And agencies, believe it or not, are a tough thing to buy right now. If you just want to call it like it is, number
Always.
one, the average agency owner is not super old. We measure something called MUD score. You've probably never heard of this, but it's motivation, urgency, and distress. That's a MUD
Mhm.
score. Are they motivated? Is it urgent? Is there distress? That's how you get good deals in acquisition. You can buy things off market. You can get things without using traditional financing. You can get good deals. Like, so there's not a lot of older marketing agency owners, and then there's not a terrible amount of MUD score, really. Recently,
Yeah,
there is, though. A lot of agencies are
yeah,
struggling. There's a lot
yeah,
of
housing.
agencies that are struggling because of their customers struggling, and just like jettison, they're just throwing stuff off the ship so they can stay afloat. And ignorantly, a lot of people get rid of marketing, and it's just because that's what they feel like they need to do. And a lot of bigger people who are doing agency work for enterprise level companies, people are saying we can cut costs without cutting our employees, get rid of the vendor, bring it in house, even if it's not as effective. So the marketing agency world is under attack at this moment, truthfully.
Yes,
And I know
it
so
is.
many of them that are struggling, which is why I think your niche is so important. If you're not niched, you're going to be a generalist, and it's going to be very, very difficult to be successful and really hold your ground. And
Mhm.
then also not understanding like that ideal win scenario. Like I'm working with clients who are in this box who've already struggled and already solved the problems with their sales. They know how to convert leads if I bring them to them. They're real businesses that have sales, marketing, financial, HR, and operations all as separate roles. I'm not dealing with somebody who's always freaked out and distressed. I'm not dealing with somebody who has accounts receivable issues, who's having a hard time paying their guys. Like you got to know who you're working with. And I think this quality of your customer base is going to be the reason why you survive or not. Like if you have nothing but a whole bunch of really small, crappy businesses that are all making less than $200,000 a year, good luck holding on to them because those guys are going to struggle, right? So I think where you're doing well is you chose the right niche, you chose the right like ideal win scenario where I can crush it if you're inside this box. You don't bring people in that don't fit your ideal win scenario, right? I want to share my screen for a second, a little bit off topic, but you said something that I do believe is pretty powerful. So can you see this? So
I can.
we talk about the four stages of success quite often. You got people in survival mode, you got people who are comfortable, you've got people who are thriving, then you have people who are like more legacy driven. Like legacy driven, think of people who have more money than they could ever need. The reason why they get up every day and they do what they do is because they are trying to leave a legacy. They're trying to do something much bigger with their life than just live. They want to like
Mhm.
live for purpose, right? Thriving is pretty interesting. It's where you have way more money than you need, and you're really like hitting your stride, where you're making a couple hundred grand a year, $1 million a year, and you're still really driven. You're pushing. And for someone to get to legacy driven from thriving, you have to work for something bigger than yourself. You want to. It's like a paradigm shift. Comfortable is the worst one you could ever get to. It's absolutely terrible. And that's kind of that contentness you were talking about earlier. That's where you get away from survival. You're not fighting to eat every day. You don't appreciate it as much. And you go from this having to push every day and this fight in the dog to now I want to hoard what I've got. And I want to take a break because I've been fighting for a long time. And then survival at the bottom is where you got to wake up, and your decision making is really driven by the idea of I have to make something work. I have to keep pushing hard. I have to trade my time for dollars. So the reason why I want to bring this up is you were talking about this for just a minute there. Like in your journey, being comfortable or content with where you are in some ways is really, really dangerous. In other ways, you have to, you don't want to always strive for something and you want to feel guilty. Like, I already have enough. I'm already super blessed. Like, you go biblical and you go like the religious angle, which I think both of us are believers here, and I don't care who hears it, right? I believe, like, sometimes we think, are we being selfish for wanting more than we have? We already have more than everybody else. We're already very blessed, you know, and I think it's got to have a little bit of a paradigm shift and say, actually, no, you can help so many more people in your life if you get to that legacy driven, and you can't do that when you're comfortable. So I just encourage anybody who's listening, and I've talked about this a couple of times on my podcast, like, if you're comfortable and you feel like, hey, I feel good about it, I've got a good routine, I make enough money, not great money, enough money, my family's proud of me, I feel like I've got everything I want. And you know you're in this zone when you start buying stuff. I don't know if you remember this, but you went from the beat up Kia to a used Lexus or a brand new Toyota 4Runner. Like, you know you're there when you start spending a lot more money. And you also know there when you don't have very much net worth. Like, if you're not a millionaire by net worth, and you're in your 40s, your 50s, you're definitely in that comfortable state. So I just want to talk about that for a second. Any reaction to that? What's your advice for somebody who's kind of gotten stuck in that, where they're making money, yes, but they're also spending the money quickly. They're not really accruing any net worth, and they don't have anything that, like, in their stomach that's such a burning desire to achieve and get to the next level, where it's almost they're just content. Maybe this is a W-2 person, right? Somebody who's just trying to make more money every year. What's your reaction to that?
Oh man, yeah. I think my knee jerk reaction here is to go that if you're sitting in the comfortable position, which I a lot of times find myself being like, oh yeah, I'm comfortable, and that's what I actually think the risks, the things that you're like, this is what I want. That's almost more important for you to take that, because it gets you out like a little fire under your butt, and it gets you out of your seat from the comfortable and working you into towards the thriving. And I think that's really key to go is like, you need that to get out of it. That because again, I think there's a very big difference between content and comfortable. Being content is realizing where you're at and going, hey, look, I'm grateful for where I'm at. I'm grateful for who I've become or whatever it is. Like, being content, you've got to learn to be content, because whether you're in legacy mode, thriving mode, survival mode, if you can't figure out how to be content, you'll never be content. And that's going to be a systematic problem that will hold you back from thriving and hold you back from the legacy mode. Once you learn to be content, if you find yourself just comfortable, now it's time to take the risks. And again, I would argue, if you're sitting here thinking about this going, well, am I comfortable? Am I that type of person? If you're even thinking about it, it's like, you're the type of person, you're already listening to this podcast. So if you think you're comfortable, you're probably in a spot where it's time to take some risks, get some fire under your butt so you can get to the thriving, because you're not going to get to where you want to be if you're just comfortable and chilling.
And I think part of it is learning how to going after something that's bigger than you. I think that's a big part of it, right? If your ambitions are the ceiling of what you want to achieve, you'll never really reach your full potential. You have to be reaching for something much bigger than yourself. We talk about a lot of times, like, what are you fighting for? And that's not the right question. I think who are you fighting for is a better question. And think about whose life is affected by my decisions, whose life is affected by my decision to say, this is as hard as I want to push. Now I'm going to go into coast mode. But then I was on a call yesterday with a good friend of mine, Keston, who's a mindset coach. And he was saying that you actually should never use your family as your why. He said, because when push comes to shove, even if you were broke, for most of you, your family would still say, it's okay, daddy. It's okay, mommy. We're happy with just you being you. He said, you've got to find something bigger than that. Carl talks about this a lot, as well as the Iron Cowboy, James Lawrence, was at one of our events last year. And he talked about, he said, that person with the big enough why can solve almost any how. And that was an interesting concept as well. So I think your mission for you, Travis, like, the reason you get up every single day, obviously it's because the wife, the kids, you love your customers, you love your employees, you love the work you're doing. But when you say, this is what I really want out of life, this is and really it's nothing about the goal. It's usually the benefits of the goal is what you're really looking for. Like, it's got to be something so much bigger than your customers and then your business and your employees and your wife and your kids. Like, that's where I think people who really change the world, that's where they live, in that headspace of, I'm not doing it because I need more. I have enough. I'm content, like you said. I'm doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I'm on a mission. I'm doing it because my vision won't let me stop until I reach it. Right. So
Mhm.
let me ask you two questions. One, what is that vision for you, if you don't mind sharing? Like what really drives you beyond everything we just talked about?
Yeah, uh, I would say a few things. The one, like, I really enjoy what I do, and so what's driving me is like I want to learn, I want to become better, I want to own more businesses, I want to make a big impact with either the people that work at the business or what can be done with the profits of the business. Like we are supporting homeless shelters, we're supporting shelters where women go after they've been abused, or like that's super cool that we're making that impact. And I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't be able to make as big of an impact if I didn't have this ability. So that is one thing, is like, what can I do with the profits? Like you said, the benefit. The other thing is like, again, I like to push myself, and I don't want to look back and have a ton of regrets. And therefore I know myself, and I know I want more out of life. I want to push the boundaries. And I don't think that's wrong. I think God made me like that. So I need to push the boundaries, push the limits, take the risks. And that really is actually what drives me, is like, I think I'm made for more. So let's go and find out what that more looks like. And it might be a world where I don't know what the end looks like, but I know there's more. And I'm okay continuing to explore, taking the risk, exploring and experiencing that. And then the other thing I'd like to just real quick point out, you said something about like having a bigger vision. Like that is a big vision. But on the flip side, having the right people around you to help you either craft or support you in that vision. I have friends, and if they're listening, they're probably not my friend I'm talking about, but I have friends, like, I try not to hang out with them as much because secretly, like, they bring me down. They don't even understand what I'm doing and the vision I'm going for and the kind of living life and like getting more out of life. And it really does actually bring me down. And so part of like having that big vision is also starting to craft yourself with the right people. Not that you have to be a jerk and be like, I don't want to hang out with you, but be very wise about how you spend your time and who you're spending it with, because you need a lot more of the Chris Moores and Travis Weathers in your life than you do maybe the other people that you're like, that's just not even a healthy relationship. And when you do that, you'll actually paint a bigger picture and be driven to that. Because I remember sitting down with people, it was the first time I met business owners, and I was telling them about my things. I was like, I'm just so scared. What if I lose it all? I'm so scared. What if I lose it all? They're like, Travis, what if you lose it all? I was like, what do you mean? They're like, everything. Like, your family is literally on the sidewalk. You have no more houses. You have no more business. What would you do? I was like, well, honestly, after I met you, I'd pick up the phone and I know I could sell. And so I know I could provide for my family by selling. They're like, okay, is that the end of the world? Well, no. They're like, okay, then why don't you go and take this action? You're so scared to hire a salesperson. You're so scared to hire a president. Like, go take that action, because this perceived risk is not, like you said, not really that big of a risk. And that was when it clicked. Is like, I need better people in my life, and I need people to hold this vision higher and keep me accountable, because it's easy to bring my vision down.
When you grow up, moms always say, hey, be careful hanging out with so-and-so. You
Oh,
are who
yeah,
you
yeah,
hang
yeah,
out
yeah,
with,
yeah.
right? It's so freaking true. My uncle taught me something. He said, hang out with the people you want to be in 10 years. Like, that was such a valuable lesson for me. The other thing, there's a story, my buddy Clay in 2018 changed my whole world when he said this. He's like, hey man, Chris, you're kind of like a zebra in a room full of horses. He said, people just don't quite get you. You're just different. Like, you have different ambitions. He said, I'm going to go find you a room full of zebras. And he
Beautiful.
did. And he brought me to Top One Mastermind. It was MFA, Marketing Funnel Automation 2018, with Todd Brown. And that's where I met a lot of the people that I do business with today. I've had so many partnerships come for that. And just getting in the right rooms and being around people who share my ambitions, it's led me to a lot of partnerships, led me to lots and lots of money, led me to friendships, led me to new opportunities. And I think what you said a few minutes ago is huge. Like, you have these people that you grew up with, or people that you're friends with, who don't share your ambitions. They don't understand your ambitions. And it's not that they're bringing you down or trying to, it's just, you can't thrive when you're around people who aren't looking to thrive, right? One of the
Mhm.
things that I believe you were in the room when I did this presentation in Gatlinburg, but I love the concept of talking about wealth in a very different way, right? So if you look here, I think wealth and thriving in general, you have to have wealth to thrive. And the reason you want to thrive and get to a legacy driven with the wealth is because you want to have the ability to make a bigger impact and change lives. But when I look at wealth, I look at what wealth really is as resources, and get rid of the word money, but resources is time, money, wisdom. It's also capabilities. It's also businesses. It's also the ability to take action faster than everybody else because you have resources. And I think one of the things we got to do as business owners, as leaders in our family, our community, our industry is always focus on taking care of ourselves and stop piling our own resources. And I think you talked about it a minute ago, like you've got great team members, you've got great staff, you've got great partners, and this is a resource. Your team's a resource. Having great technicians is huge. Having access to capital, having multiple businesses. Like, give you an example, like my bowling alley is a tremendous resource. It doesn't make me a lot of money. It actually costs me a ton of money. It's a tax shelter. My Ninja Warrior gym, same thing. My business partners, Justin and Melissa, run it now. It costs me money, but wow, what a resource that is, because it helps people. We've had people looking to end their own life who've gone into that business and literally, as a student, found themselves and their identity for the first time and started to thrive and didn't take their own life. Like, it's a resource. The bowling alley, like, what a tremendous resource for the community. Even though it doesn't make me any money and cost me a lot of money, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but that's what thriving is all about. That's what I wanted to share. It's all about, can I focus on stockpiling resources? One, so I don't have to always trade time for dollars. Two, I don't always have to work as hard as I'm working now, and I can focus on things that really make me happy. But also, three, having the ability and being prepared to take action and being able to help people. Like, you went back to your regrets. Like, I wish I would have executed more. What if you had all the resources you have today 10 years ago? Would that have changed the game?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
One last question.
My mentor sat me down one time. You got all this wealth, you got all these resources, but he sat me down one time, and I was just in a dump, and I was just not having fun. And it's like, and he sat me down, and he's like, dude, it is your job to have fun while you do this. Like, your team will thrive off that. And it was a reminder, like, there is all so much more, but like, if you're listening to this, have fun. Like, this is fun. What we're doing, what we're listening, what we're talking, this is fun. If you're not having fun, you may want to question what you're doing, but have fun. Like, enjoy the process, enjoy the fun that comes from it. Because I think we need to realize, like, it's okay to be like, I do this for fun. I do this because I enjoy it and I have fun. Like, good. Let's do that. All right. Sorry. One more question.
Oh, you're good. No, it's good. Let's end there. Wise words from Travis. It's all about have fun. This is your job. This is what you do every day. If you're not having fun, it's more on you than anybody else. I think the way that you look at it is either you see the greatness in what's going on, you're enjoying the journey, or you dredge through it and you're just looking at the destination. I think stop looking at the destination for just a moment. Enjoy your journey. Enjoy who you have around you. If you don't enjoy who you have around you, that's on you as well. Upgrade the company you keep, and you'll upgrade everything in your life.
That's a saying that we have at our company. When I onboard people, I say we take our work very seriously here, but we don't take ourselves seriously. And that's why you'll see us have fun, poke, like, because no one wants to work with some robot who's like higher as mighty as me. It's like, we take a job seriously, but we don't take ourselves. And so we have fun while we do it.
In another episode, I'd love to bring you back. I was talking to you earlier. I forgot something I was going to ask you. I remember it now. And I don't want to talk about today, but open loop. Let's do Travis Weathers part 2 if you'll come back and talk to us again. But like, the idea of bringing your employees in your business and making them a key focus of profitability, there's a lot of controversy there. What if employees see the business making more profitable? Do they say, give me more money? If you read Built to Sell, which is a beautiful book if you haven't read it, and he talks about like having the employees feeling like they're entitled to more of the profit, or they built the company, when you sell it, they should get an exit check. I just want to talk about that, because that's something where I think some business owners are afraid to have the employees and the team as part of the profit, and having them focusing on profit with you. I just love to hear more about your style. Are you making them profit interest partners? Are you tying part of their compensation to performance? Like, let's do that in another episode. I've got to run today, but thank you so much for being on it.
Part 2 in a month or so.
Yeah, we'll do it in a month or so. I've got a big event coming up for 2, but once again, so thanks for being here. Thanks for pouring into these listeners. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, always feel free to jump over to YouTube, type in Surges of Income Podcast, find it on YouTube, send us some comments. If people want to get in touch with you, maybe they have a great referral for you, they know a buddy that owns a moving company, you are the best. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'd say the best way, number one, you can find me on Facebook. I'm pretty good on Facebook and Messenger. So find me, Travis Weathers, on Facebook. Send me a message, or on Instagram at Travis Weathers. And those are probably the best ways to get a hold of me. And I'm happy to help in any way I can and love to connect with you.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for being here. Part 2, open loop, cliffhanger. We're going to do it. We're going to talk about profitability more. And thank you so much for being here.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.